Right, that is my thought, and I thank Mr. Judge, and I want to welcome back to the show my dear friend Art Laffer, former Reagan economist, Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, and author of the recent book here, Taxes Have Consequences. We got that up on the full screen. So, Art, you know, it's very interesting. You and I have been talking about this on the show privately for months and months and months and months. GOP have to be, I think your word was, stewards of prosperity. Here's this chap, Glock. I don't know him. He's from the Manhattan Institute. Wrote a first-rate op-ed piece dealing with the same issue, showing a lot of interesting polling data. Maybe now Governor DeSantis, who's taken on the Federal Reserve. I kind of like that. Trump had good regulatory and tax policy. He's, re-upped his deregulation, I guess, in a video in a paper today. But still, Art, you got to always worry about it. They are, after all, Republicans, and sometimes they don't know how to focus properly.
That's totally true. I mean, you have to have them focus on the economy. It's number one, it's number two, it's number three, it's number four, it's number five. Being stewards of the economy is what the Republicans know how to do, and that's what they should be doing. And I love DeSantis's focus on the Fed, and I love Trump's focus on regulations and taxes. Those are all the correct issues. Those are the winners. And the article in the Wall Street Journal on the polling only confirms what we've known for a long time, Larry, is that economics wins elections. Look what happened to Bush when he gave in on the tax increase, and then bam, I think he was rated 85% in the polls. He went down to losing the election to Clinton because of economics. Reagan's popularity in '84, winning 49 out of 50 states, was solely on economics, literally. I mean, you can go back in history, the election of 1920, Harding and Coolidge versus Cox and Roosevelt, all on economics. The Republicans won by the largest majority ever. It is the winner of all times, and whenever we stray, we guarantee we're going to lose.
We've got some sound from Governor Ron DeSantis taking aim at the Fed in Naples, Florida. Take a listen.
I think the Fed has done a horrible job, over these last few years, and they really are creating potential significant turmoil in the economy going forward. I mean, think about what they did. For all of 2022, they were hiking rates, taking money out of the economy because there was too much money that had been printed. And so they're doing that, and that obviously causes problems because they didn't do it, they didn't handle it appropriately.
So there, I mean, good, all right? I don't know what the details are going to be. He'll continue this, but that's right. The Fed deserves it.
Yeah, you're right. It does deserve it. It's been running at a zero interest rate policy since 2008, 2009. We've developed a world that's been hooked on this. No success story, no anticipations of inflation or anything. And it's ruined the economy. And now the Fed pops rates and you're going to get this flip-flop. And DeSantis is pointing this out. And this Fed is made a huge mistake. They should have shrunk the balance sheet long ago, long ago. They never should have expanded it. And they should go back to try to stabilizing the monetary unit in there in the market. And, God forbid that I would mention the word gold or commodities or anything else. But that's what they should do, is exactly what Volcker did with spot commodity prices. I don't know if you remember my piece in the Wall Street Journal right after Volcker took office. And it was a commodity price, and he was able to bring inflation down dramatically because of a price rule and bringing inflation down. And that's what we have to do now. And these guys just don't understand it, Larry. And DeSantis is right to go after him.
Well, I think he is. So, in the last election, the midterms, Art, disappointing outcome. I mean, the Republicans took the House. Good. Should have taken both houses and should have had a bigger margin. It's funny. Inflation was always public enemy number one, poll after poll after poll. And Republicans talked about inflation. I don't know that they talked about a solution, but they did talk about inflation, and the public was, that they were there. But I think the GOP got caught, and I don't want to have to get into too many specifics here, but they got caught into talking about too many social issues, too many so-called wedge issues, cultural and social issues, and not enough
Exactly.
limited government, deregulation, lower taxes. I'm not saying they didn't talk about it, but I don't think they hammered away. And I think to do it right, you got to hammer away. Reagan hammered away. We learned that, you and I both. Reagan kept hammering away. Limited government, right? The social welfare state, lower taxes in those days.
Yes.
Donald Trump talked a lot about tax cuts and deregulation at the height of his popularity. And I think he's going to go back to that. DeSantis has tailor-made the difference between Florida and New York on tax rates and economic performance. You ought to talk about that. You ought to talk about that day and night, maybe a little less in terms of attacking Walt Disney.
Well, I don't know about the less on that, but you got to go. Every single thing hinges on a good economy. I mean, what's the meaning of civil rights in an unemployment line, Larry? It makes no sense. Or transgender rights in a food camp. They make no sense. If you don't have good economics, nothing else matters. The economy is everything going forward. These other issues are all peripheral, and the Republicans have to talk about them from the beginning, in the middle, and at the end on all of these issues. Low rate, broad-based flat tax, spending restraint, sound money, minimal regulations, and free trade. All 5 of these are the 5 pillars of prosperity if you've talked about for years and years and years. We are the stewards of the economy, and we can deliver those to the American people. The other stuff no one can deliver, but we can deliver prosperity, period. And that will solve a lot of other problems, believe me.
Could I just slightly amend that, God knows, reciprocal free trade excluding China? Just thought I'd put that in there. Reciprocal free trade. You don't have to comment on that. You can put that. I just need to say that. I just need to say that. And I think both of us, look, both of us would like to see law and order on the border. I mean, really, both of us would like to see that.
Yes, of course.
But it becomes a question of emphasis. And, I think that was what happened to the GOP a little bit in the last midterm elections. I'm for the child's right to life. I'm for the child's right to life. I believe you are, too. But I'm not sure the GOP...
I've got 6 kids.
There you go. So that's a perfect example. But the point is, I'm not sure it didn't get tangled up in that and should have gotten much more on the economic issue. I mean, inflation was right there. Inflation is still there. Speaking of inflation, Arthur, the latest numbers coming out show very sticky inflation, probably not less than 5%.
Yes, they do.
And we had a batch of numbers today. Manufacturing was down. Retail sales were down. None of this looks particularly good. What you thinking?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, the core inflation number was, I think it went up a little bit. And, when you take out oil and other foods and all that, those are what we used to call spot commodity prices. When Volcker ran it, he always carved off the spot commodity prices. And what he tried to do was adjust for that to keep the core stable by intervening in the money markets to keep it stable. He did not control interest rates. He followed interest rates. Huge difference between this Fed and Volcker's. When we took office on January 20th, 1981, Larry, the prime interest rate was 21.5%. Volcker didn't cause that rate to go there, but Volcker followed that rate as it went up, always taking things out of the monetary base, or what we call the balance sheet now, and bringing inflation down. That, with tax cuts, caused the inflation to crash under Reagan, which is exactly what we should do now. But this Fed doesn't get it. And God knows fiscal policy is the worst it could possibly be. Exuberant spending, and they want to raise taxes by trillions of dollars. It couldn't be worse, Larry.
Let's go back. Let's make this real simple. Let's go back to tax cuts and King Dollar. How about that? Tax cuts and King Dollar. Yeah. Tax cuts for growth, King Dollar to stop inflation. Just don't make it any harder than it needs to be.
There it is.
There you go. You taught me that. I got it. Full disclosure. He taught me the whole thing.
Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's not right.
Art Laffer, terrific stuff. Thanks ever so much. Have a wonderful weekend.